Recording.
Hello, my name is Dawn Mann, and I am here with the wonderful Dr. Nava, and we want to talk to you all today about our experiences with the Kagan Structures.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Yuridia Nava, and like Dawn shared, I'm here with Dr. Dawn Mann, who introduced me to the Kagan Structures, which actually kicks off our first question.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's talk introduction to Kagan. And Dawn, I'm going to defer to you because I know you learned about Kagan first.
Okay. Well, I was working in a district, Val Verde USD in California, and noticed that they were engaging with the people in the audience, or really in the meetings, in a particular way. And I asked the question, what is this that you all are doing? And they immediately said, Kagan Structures. I wanted to know, what are these Kagan Structures? And so I looked it up online, signed myself up for a conference, and attended my first ever Kagan conference and was absolutely blown away. It was a 2-day conference on brain-friendly instruction, and I learned so much, and it completely changed my professional practice. So with excitement, I talked to Yuri and said, girl, you have to attend a Kagan conference. So now I'll let Yuri tell you about her experience.
Yes, well, as Dr. Mann described, when she really talked about how it just really revolutionized her instructional practices, I said, I have to find out about what this is, and told more people and told my team at the Riverside County Office of Ed. And so we signed up for, we now have attended 2 conferences, and our first conference was on the Kagan Cooperative Learning Styles and Structures, and it was a 2-day conference. It was the Learning Structures days 1 and 2. And when I tell you from start to finish, the engagement, the fun, and just so many ways to really facilitate learning. But when I saw how the adults were having so much fun, it really made a difference for us in learning about this new approach. And so we thought, you know what? We are going to implement this in our adult professional development and also support other professionals to implement these strategies in their teaching practices. And so that's how I learned about Kagan Cooperative Learning, and it has truly changed my entire experience and outlook and ability to obtain the learning objectives that I set forth in my professional development. And people are responding really positively to the new practices. I can't wait to talk about that.
You know, we forgot one thing at the very beginning. We are school counselors. And so we actually come into this space a little bit differently than teachers. But because we work with adults and then we train adults on how to school counseling programming. And a part of that is how to actually engage with students, because we do have, as a component of our practice, instructional
Interventions.
Instructional interventions, thank you.
Mhm.
Instructional interventions that we should deliver. And instead of just going in and presenting or talking to students, it is so important that we actually teach our students. And so the structures from Kagan, like I said, have been just game-changing in terms of our professional practice.
Yes, and to share a little bit more about why that is so important, in many states, and depending on where you are a practicing, non-classroom member, or we call them here in California, non-classroom member, you may not come from a teaching background. And so as a school counselor, like Dr. Mann shared, you are required to provide large, small group instruction. And so, for someone who has never been a teacher, this really lays the foundation and provides you the tools necessary to ensure that your instructional practices are grounded in brain science, which is the root of the Kagan Cooperative Learning, to make sure that students are learning what they need to at a developmentally appropriate rate. And the same for adults, which is what has made our now adult professional development so much fun. But as we're seeing this piloted with students, we are seeing great results in Val Verde Unified, which is actually one of the districts in my county, but also hearing from some of our other local districts who are implementing Kagan Cooperative Learning. They're already seeing test scores rising, which is so exciting. So we know that it's really making a difference to ensure that kids are actually obtaining those academic outcomes.
So let's talk to you about it from the school counseling framework. And just as a little bit of an introduction, school counselors work within 3 domains, and that is the academic domain, the career domain. Oh yeah, that's it.
Social emotional domain?
Social emotional domain. I was thinking about outcome data, so I confused myself just a little bit, but then also the social emotional domain. And as such, we are required to deliver instruction and services and activities in all 3 domains. And the one thing that there's so many different things that I like about Kagan, but in the school counseling world, to address our domains, the Kagan structures actually address the social emotional component. The Kagan structures also address the employability skills, which means that they provide opportunities for students to develop career readiness skills. And then with the instructional component of it, we're able to address the academic domain as well and make sure that we ground our instruction in research-based practices that actually address every domain in the school counselor land. What do you think, Dr. Nava?
Well, I agree with everything that Dr. Mann shared. And I think for me, not just with students, but also with diverse learners, adult
Yes.
learners, the Kagan Cooperative Learning, when I went through the training, really taught me that the structures that you put in place really support different learning styles and students and adults from diverse backgrounds. Some of us are kinesthetic learners, some of us are auditory learners, visual learners. But Kagan, the cooperative learning structures really incorporate movement and chunking pieces of information that make it so developmentally appropriate. And that is actually some of the feedback I'm getting now. Love that you're chunking and making the PD bite size so that I can digest it. And that's another really important thing of why Kagan is so impactful, is that the foundational practices of Kagan teach you to pause and let people process the information that they're learning. And we need that as adults too. So imagine the students, how much they're benefiting from this. And it just helps with retaining information, moving information from that short-term to long-term memory. And it just makes the experience so much more fun. So that is some of the pieces why I think it is so important and making such a big difference in the learning of both children and adults.
We have seen such huge gains with school counselors in terms of how they are growing and developing competencies and developing skills, because some of the topics that we actually address with school counselors can be a little tough. Working with teaching school counselors how to write a complicated SMART goal, that's an annual program goal. Those are topics that really require a lot of practice, a lot of modeling, a lot of time to process the information. And the Kagan structures have been absolutely phenomenal, and not only helping with the learning and the retention, but also increasing the engagement and the enthusiasm and being able to go back to the school building and implement what we taught.
Everything that Dr. Mann shared What I love too about Kagan is that they really teach you that we need to provide our adults and our students with some of the sentence frames needed to engage in collaborative conversations, such as coaching and feedback and praise. And that is so important in education. And it, as Dr. Mann shared, it actually ties into that social emotional side of just being the person employability skills. So that piece of Kagan has been really great as we have, we're teaching school counselors how to support each other in this process, just like the students would in the classroom that are engaging in cooperative learning. So I really love that because it keeps them motivated and interested in their learning. They're reframing their thoughts and their speaking patterns, even in supporting each other through professional development. So I can only imagine how amazing this is in the classroom with students and hearing them give each other appropriate praise and feedback and boosting those critical thinking skills, but in a way that it's cooperative, that ensures that there's equity of voice, that every single person participates. I really love that too. Thanks to the Kagan timers and setting limits and boundaries and setting clear rules, and just ensuring that folks do it in a way that boosts that social collaboration amongst teams.
One more thing before we go. The way the cooperative learning structures actually increase not only the engagement and the learning, but they actually increase the camaraderie and the team building, the community building with the school counselors or the learners, the participants. It is unlike anything I've ever witnessed. And that is beautiful always when you can create some relationships that are grounded in work and then grounded in friendship and grounded in community. It's just a win-win. So we're teaching, students are learning, counselors are building relationships. It's just an outright amazing and phenomenal way to interact with learners.
I would agree with everything Don shared. It just really makes the process of learning engaging, fun, and active so that the learner is getting hands-on experience with the material, which is going to be cause them to have more likely to retain information. But that social interaction and collaboration piece is so true. It actually encourages great teamwork amongst groups that normally sometimes some students, I would imagine, and some adults may not participate or engage in, as Dr. Mann shared, especially when material can be a little bit daunting. We all get a little bit anxious about data and math. And so it really breaks it down in a way that is friendly, that is digestible, but that enhances a collaborative learning experience that really lends itself to the professional setting. And so it's just so exciting to see it even with adult learning, that I know that what we've seen with our own districts and some of our neighboring districts, that it really is boosting academic outcomes for our students with that piece, with that social skills piece.
Well, I thank you so much, Dr. Nava, for spending this time with me so that we can talk about our experience with the Kagan structures and talk about or share with how much they've really changed our professional practices and increase the learning with the school counselors that we've been charged with training.
Thank you.
Thank you.